Ice, the OVA, is about future year 2012 where all men died. Yippee! Did you know my favorite book is Scum Manifesto? Ice is an anime I really enjoyed. Not only because it's weird, violent, and full of interesting themes, and funny, but it's Yuri. The themes of Ice are interesting, like how the militarist faction represents a history of male domination and war, while the religious faction represents the history of the feminine urge to care about the environment and form a religious cult. Yeah, that tracks. And how the two are at odds, but need to combine their powers of humanity to create a future where people love and don't war. And how childbirth is a necessary self-sacrifice using the titular ice. Ugh. The Twin Towers fit in there somewhere.
Huh? What in the world could this Twin Tower thing be?
Okay, I explained the plot's themes to you. If you find any of that confusing, watch Ice for yourself and come to your own conclusion, because it's not that hard. If you want to know how to watch Ice in the first place, it's even easier. There's an OVA from 2007 and a movie from 2008, and if you're curious, there is no difference other than end credits being in the OVA a few more times. The OVA is available in an English dub on YouTube, but the movie was only released in Japanese as far as I could tell. You can get either version on DVD, which you probably should, because when I tried to upload the movie to archive.org, my internet would stop in the middle of the process every time, and I haven't found any other way to watch it in Japanese. It's fine though, the English dub is just as good as the Japanese dub. Some of you may have raised an eyebrow at that claim, but trust me on this. You might be wondering what else I can say. But there's more going on than just story and themes. I'm going to talk about Ice's production and a few minor details I missed after the first viewing. It's complicated. I'll try to avoid spoilers, but you get the idea. The first thing you'll notice if you bought the movie DVD is the tagline, "Made by the creator of Gundam Double Zeta." This is weird, I thought, to specify Double Zeta, the least liked original Gundam series. It's also weird considering the person usually credited as the creator is Yoshiyuki Tomino, who made the first two Gundams as well. Of course, Tomino isn't the only creator of Gundam, but that's the label he gets assigned, so whatever. But anyway, Tomino didn't have anything to do with Ice. The person referred to here is Makoto Kobayashi. Not the physicist. Not the Where's Michael guy either. Okay, there we go. He did mech design for Gundam Zeta and Double Zeta. Why did the DVD specify Double Zeta? Makoto Kobayashi put in the work for Ice. He directed it, wrote the script, did the storyboard, and even worked on art for the first episode, or first 40 minutes of the film. Even though he was fundamental to its creation and clearly had a lot of creative control, he isn't even credited as the original creator of Ice. That honor goes to Yasushi Akimoto, who also did the lyrics to the theme song. If that name sounds familiar, it's because this is the guy that founded AKB48, a famous idol group known for how it has over like 100 members. He also wrote a song for BTS, I don't know. It's really more accurate to call AKB48 an idol management company because they sometimes section off members into groups to work together and these groups mix or change members. For Ice, they formed Ice from AKB48, that's a helpful name, to perform the main theme song for the anime. Now, Ice is a pretty mature work, and I don't mean that because of the violence. The themes are pretty heavy and involve some real-world political struggles and ideological debates, like anti-imperialism and climate change. On top of that, there's talk of how the religious faction has lesbian sex, including a scene where Yuki has Hitomi grope her. The voice actor for Yuki was 14 years old when she recorded this. I'm not saying it was his idea, but this seems to be a running theme with Akimoto. He's been criticized before for having suggestive and misogynistic lyrics in music videos featuring teenage girls of AKB48. Akimoto took the coward's way out and said that it wasn't that bad to make those songs, of course.
What is your response to this criticism?
There
is no criticism. The lyrics are used as metaphors. I was often asked how someone like me, who is over 50, can write songs for young kids. I remember what it was like when I was a teenager. When I look back, there were sexual things and other things around that interested me. I changed them not to be dirty, but more romantic in my lyrics. There is no real direct sexual expression in my lyrics.
Well, if I can read the lyrics to one of your songs for AKB48, it's that school uniform is getting in the way, and the lyrics go something like this. I want to take off my school uniform, I want to misbehave, you can do whatever you like, I want to experience adult pleasure.
I thought we will first express their realities, but the lyrics that they want to misbehave or take off their uniforms are not real words from the girls themselves.
and he claimed he just liked creating what young people like and tries to inspire them. I'm not sure how a no dating rule for AKB48 members inspires anybody. Unrelated, but I recently found out there's some AKB48 dating sim games on the PSP, and a few of the Ice Girls show up in this game. And they were all teenagers at the time, by the way. I thought about playing it for footage, but I don't think I'd have anything else to say about it. On top of doing theme song work, the Ice Girls did voice acting for most of the combat cell that you follow throughout the story, as well as Yuki, one of the Kisaragi religious group's important members. Now, these were teenagers who had never done voice acting before, or ever again in most cases, so they didn't do the best work, which I can tell even as a non-speaker of Japanese.
街はもうすぐだ。なぜ止まる？
ここはね、私の秘密の場所。面白いから見せてあげようと思って。
Their age and inexperience really shows on the old ICE website, only accessible through the Wayback Now, where Sato says she found the script complicated, probably because she was 16. Since this was their first attempt as a voice actor, the 5 of them were struggling with dubbing, but they showed their stunning acting skills that did not make you feel like it was the first time. Sorry, not the impression I got.
許してさつき、カニカンあげるから、ね。
Now, I don't think they did a bad job. In fact, I think the actors for Utsuha, Rine, and Murasaki were really good. But Yuki and Aoi's voice work were pretty rough.
すべてはアイスとジュリア様のために。
The voice actor for this was 16. Again, though, this isn't because they were bad voice actors. They were inexperienced. Akimoto has said before he considers AKB48 a place for girls to get experience in being an idol.
But there are not many people in Japan who can sing and dance as well as being visually attractive. There's probably a few here. With this in mind, if you have even one of those talents, or if you make the effort to fulfill your dreams, we can showcase that process, which is represented by AKB48. Usually talented people compete at auditions, and those people grow to become stars through a series of hard lessons. When they make their debut, it's time to show them to the world. But in the case of AKB48, we reveal them prior to that process.
So I think this was probably a fun opportunity for them to try voice acting in a professional setting for the first time. That said, most of the other characters use professional voice actors that have been in the industry for some time, so the AKB48 girls are accidentally compared to those with experience, and it feels kind of sad.
姉様、いつものおふざけは、さつきはもう我慢できません。はい。許してさつき、カニカンあげるから、ね。
I must say, though, the English dub used solely professional voice actors as far as I could tell, but that didn't stop them from giving Ice a fun atmosphere.
Oh my god, I'm playing with flowers at a time like this? Does this mean I'm out of my ever-loving mind?
Speaking of the dub, when I first heard it, I noticed that Julia, the dictator of the military, was voiced by a man putting on a femme voice to sound like a woman, which is more common for women voice actors for doing a masculine voice than vice versa. You know, to voice children so children don't have to act, but it still happens.
Accepted. However, it is considered bad luck to speak of the dead.
This is also the case for the Japanese dub. I just heard it in English first.
やめよう。死んでしまったものを語るのはお互い不吉だ。
I thought this was going to be because of some plot twist where Julia was secretly a transphobic stereotype and she was only a militarist because she was a heel. This turned out to not be the case, thankfully. She's just like that for symbolic reasons, I guess. Though I find the idea of Ice having a disabled trans lesbian antagonist really hot. And yeah, Julia is disabled. She uses a crutch to help walk on her, frankly bad leg replacement, and has a mechanical replacement arm due to losing both of the limbs in a war against America, where Hitomi similarly lost an eye. I'm not sure what the creators were going for, but at least it's representation. Speaking of rep, the main reason I picked up Ice in the first place was that it was advertised to me as a Yuri, at least Mal and Wikipedia say it is. If you're the type to get mad at subtext, Ice skirts the line at times. The main character is Hitomi Lands Connect and Yuki Ice-T. Yes, that's really their names. have a Pixar journey together and some Romeo-Juliet moments where they try to interact while dealing with being from opposing backgrounds. Now, nothing explicit ever happens apart from the boob grab, but they get very close, and you could argue that they are gay for each other. I find it strange they never go into an explicitly romantic direction, since the lore TM says the Kisaragi girls have gay sex. But whatever, I guess. Lesbians make me ignore complicated things. On top of that, Murasaki has a crush on Hitomi, confesses even, though this never goes anywhere either. Ice was more tragedy than love story, so it's not like it bothered me too much that it ended the way it did. It's hard to call it burying your gaze when almost every character dies, straight or not. This is a bit of a tangent, but in 2007 there was a light novel called, and here we go, white girl tries to read Japanese again, Kakute Aiha Koritsuita Ice, meaning something like Thus Love Froze, by Yasushi Hirano, who did script work on the Ice OVA as well as Gundam Zeta, the 2011 Hunter x Hunter, or is it Hunter x Hunter? I've never heard it said aloud, and like a million other shows. This was never translated from what I could find, but then again, I found nothing. All I could see was a page for it on CD Japan, and I swear I found a Japanese Amazon page for it, but I couldn't find it again to get a screenshot. This book probably existed, but who knows. According to the CD Japan product listing, the plot sounds similar to the OVA with some changes to the cast, with a main character named Makoto, not the guy in the OVA with the same name, meeting Yuki. Sounds cool, wish I could read it. Going back to the anime, in the DVD special features for the film, there is a music video of the main theme, Aisareru to Iyo Koto for Ice, which means something like to be loved for ice, but it's also a pun. Aisa, in Aisareru, which means loved, sounds similar to ice. Aisa, ice, which probably has something to do with the themes of ice, I don't know. I criticized the voice acting of the AKB48 members earlier, but they are incredibly talented singers. The song is great. The video for it is pretty boring though, I hate to say it. The vocalists just sit on stage in costume, which, to be fair, I love the outfits, but they're not putting on a show, which is surprising for an idol music video. Did they perform the song like this live? Whoever edited the video probably realized this, as they included some anime clips and behind the scenes footage of the girls. You don't get much of an impression if they enjoyed their time at all, since it's mostly scenes of them working, and not like goofing off backstage or whatever, but the inclusion of the footage at all is really nice to see. Speaking of the girls, out of the 5 from AKB48 that worked on Ice, 4 seem to have retired from the entertainment industry entirely, only a few years after Ice. The only one that still seems active is Yuko Oshima, the voice of Rene. Even then, she mostly does real-life acting rather than anime, though she has worked on some Japanese dubs of English movies, like Ralph Breaks the Internet. I'm not watching this. None of them make music anymore, which is fair. They got to have their time in the spotlight and moved on. I hope they're doing well. That said, I hope Yasushi Akimoto is doing terrible. I want to go back to that thing I said about Akimoto, that he makes things with teens in mind.
I want to inspire young people through what I've experienced in my life.
Now, obviously the main point of Ice is that war is bad, but there's more to it than that, which begs the question. Is Akimoto sincere in wanting to inspire the youth? If so, then I find Ice to be a strange way of expressing it, and I don't just mean because it's so mature. Sure, you could say that the point of writing a world where all men died and someone shoots a baby is meant to evoke a sort of maternal reaction, like, I would never want this, wow, I have a sudden urge to get a husband and a baby. But if the ultimate goal of Ice is to say to teens, raise that birth rate and don't hate men, then what's up with the Yuri? That's right, I couldn't ignore the implications. Doesn't Yuri inherently exclude men? And before you say Yuri is made for men, that's simply not true in a monolithic sense. Maybe for some, but not all. If that's true, then why do so many lesbians like Yuri, and why do so many stories focus on the lesbian perspective? It seems to me Ice isn't a typical Yuri where girls love each other instead of men, but rather girls who love each other because they have no other choice. Now, I don't mean women have to love someone, but rather that Ice posits love is the counter to war, so Yuri is the only means of introducing love to a society with no men. And by love I don't mean sex, since the Kisaragi's tendency towards lesbian sex seems to be more of a point of criticism rather than a positive function of their culture. So yeah, hate to say it, but Ice isn't very Yuri. If Akimoto is being sincere about inspiring the youth, then his method of doing so excludes lesbians, since it seems to say love between women shouldn't be sexual and is a consequence of a post-apocalyptic dystopia situation. Though that isn't to say Ice is impossible to read as Yuri positive. I mean, the relationship between Yuki and Hitomi is quite beautiful if the age gap is relegated to the fictional world and not the real one. I don't want to dismiss any feelings of joy lesbians had with Ice, because I'm a lesbian that had loved Ice. I bought it on fucking DVD. Though at best, I would see this as a straight guy's attempt at being inclusive, filtered through latent misogyny, which might have influenced the story a little. Just a little.